Alright, so I'm going to be showing how to open up and disassemble this Dell Inspiron 15 3000. Specific model is Dell Inspiron 15 3502. Alright, so anyways, you're going to need a JIS 1 screwdriver, and we're going to remove all the screws from the bottom. Alright, so I'm going to flip it this way so the hinge is facing away from me. And then we're going to just remove all these screws. You want to keep them in order because they can be different size, shape, and lengths. The way I do that, I put them flat side down on my desk in the pattern I remove them. Okay, so we have 3, 2, and then we have 4 in the back. If I remember correctly, these back 2 corner ones actually stay in place, so keep that in mind. They actually help with removing the cover, and you'll see why in a second. Alright, if this video helps you out, make sure to like, subscribe, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helps you save a bunch of money, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. These 2 outer corner screws I'm going to remove last, and you'll see why. As we undo these screws, it actually will pop up this cover here. Okay, so as you can hear, it's popping. Okay, and then we're going to do the other side. I don't know if you can see that in the video, but it's popped up a little bit. All right, so there we go. Now you can see this cover is popped up like that, and we're going to use that to our advantage. So we're going to hold this up. I'm going to run my fingernail along the gap here, just like that. You can see this is all popping up. If for some reason it's not popping up, sometimes the screw likes to turn itself back a little bit. You might have to be unscrewing it while you're pulling on it, and then it will pop out. Okay, now that we got this out, we're going to go along the sides as well. Okay, same thing, just like that. And we might have to go along the front. And there we go. All right. Oh, one more click. There we go. Okay, so there we go. Bottom covers off, and you can see these screws stay in place. They have little metal washers that kind of hold them there. Okay, so that's why it stays in place. All right, we'll set that aside. This one, the SSD went bad. You have 2 options here. There's a slot for a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive here, and then there's a M.2 PCIe NVMe slot here. It's better to use the PCIe NVMe SSDs because they are faster, so we do want to switch to that. Alright, CPU and GPU are underneath here. On this specific model, the CPU is so low powered that it doesn't even use a fan to cool it down. It's just this giant metal plate. Alright, and actually the only thing here is the CPU, which is right underneath here. There's no GPU, there's actually nothing underneath this, it's just hollow. Okay, anyways, we're going to use the JIS 1 screwdriver to remove these screws for the PCIe NVMe SSD. It looks like this bracket actually stays attached here. Okay, after we remove this screw comes out, this one kind of stays in place. Let me actually zoom in a little bit for you guys. Alright, hopefully I'll remember to move the camera around. For the SSD, you don't have to worry about removing the battery. Okay, we're gonna move this over to the side because this tucks underneath here. So when you put this back, keep in mind that you do have to get this tucked back underneath if you're using this bracket. I'm not going to use this bracket because we're going to use a longer SSD. Anyways, this pops up and then you can go ahead and pull this out. So here you go. This is the old SSD. It's this super tiny one. But of course, if you're using a longer SSD, we're not going to use this. So what is this? Install SSD, lock, screw. Okay. Anyways, we're going to take this SSD out using a JIS 0 screwdriver because we're not using this SSD. I'm not actually even going to use this bracket or anything at all anymore. But this thing has a thermal pad here. Okay. What I'm going to install is a NVMe SSD. Alright, so we have this Crucial P3 SSDs. There's so many different NVMe SSDs you can use. You don't have to use this specific one, obviously. Okay, we got this. We're going to take it out. And we're going to install it here. So this one goes like this. Make sure to line up the notch. And then while it's at an angle, I pinch the 2 together. We lower this down, and then we just get that screw back in that we took out from the back earlier. Okay, so get that lined up. Oops, let me make sure to use the JIS 1 screwdriver. Okay, make sure this is going in the slot straight. So for some reason when this is lined up straight, this part back here is not lined up. That's okay. Just tighten the screw. Man, I got like some ants going all over here for some reason. I don't even have food here. I don't know what they're doing. I think because of the rain earlier. Anyways, yeah, you wouldn't be able to put this bracket back, all right? If you try, you'll likely end up damaging the SSD because of these metal things here and also this screw mount. So don't try to put this SSD in there, all right? Otherwise, again, you will damage your SSD. Okay, so that's pretty much it in terms of upgrading the SSD. For my customer, I'm actually going to leave the small old SSD in that metal bracket, so I'm actually just putting the screw back in that. That's what I'm doing. There you go. So we're going to leave that aside. Okay, I'm not going to be taking everything out because the main thing is we just need to upgrade or replace that SSD. So I'm going to excuse me, I'm just going to kind of show you guys what's in this laptop. You have the battery here. Model number is right here, YRDD6. All right, so if you need to replace your battery, that's the model. Very simple. There's 2 screws here and 1 screw down here. Then this kind of goes up at an angle. You can kind of slide it out. Part of the battery's underneath this foot down, or this little piece down here. So you make sure you lift it up at an angle and then slide it out this way. The cable comes out pretty simply. You just peel this up and then you kind of grab the wings and you kind of just wiggle this to pull it out. I don't want to pull it out because this also acts as the BIOS CMOS RTC real-time clock battery. And that will reset the BIOS, so I don't want to take that out. Anyways, let's move this over so you can see. Here's the 2.5-inch SATA hard drive slot connector. You take this bracket out. There's 4 screws, or 3 screws, I guess. 1 screw here, and then 2 screws here. Then you can pull this little plastic with the metal thing bracket. And then there's 4 screws being held in with this tape. You can take this tape out and then use it to put the screws in the sides of the hard drive if you're adding a 2.5-inch SATA hard drive. All right, the SD card slot and this USB port are on this separate board here. Connects here to the motherboard with this big cable, which goes over here and underneath the battery and then plugs up here. Right, you also have this small cable here, which is, what is that? Let me see. So we're going to flip this latch up here to take a look. Once you flip that latch up, you can pull this. It says PW2. So is that a power switch? Okay, I guess this is the power switch. Interesting. Okay. So is that the power switch button? Yeah, that is. Okay. So the power switch goes into here, I guess. And then it looks like there's a fingerprint. On some models, they'll use this for fingerprint sensor. So some power buttons have a fingerprint reader. I don't know why there's a FP3. I don't know. Are there 3 fingerprint sensors in this thing? I have no idea. Anyways, weird design. All right, here you can see JFP1. So probably if you use the fingerprint sensor, there's going to be a cable that goes here and then goes up here. Okay, there's FPR fingerprint reader and FPR tape. What is that? This thing says FPR tape here underneath, and this one just says FPR FFC. I don't know what that is. All right, here they have some information about the hard drive. So they actually put stuff here. It says don't put the TP in, don't put the TP there, which is the touchpad, I'm guessing. Anyways, here's the touchpad or trackpad cable connector. This also has flip latches. All of these have flip latches. This one's for some models with keyboard backlight. This one doesn't have that. This is the keyboard connector here. Same thing, flip latch there. LCD, LVDS connectors here. If you're going to mess with this, make sure that you disconnect the battery, open up the laptop, and then press the power button press and hold the power button for at least 15 seconds. Very important. If you mess with this before doing that, there's a very good chance you're going to fry your LCD, LVDS screen connector somewhere over here. Sometimes you'll fry the connector here. Sometimes you'll fry the cable, and you might even fry your screen. All right, so be very careful with that. Then underneath here, not really anything. I don't know why they have that there. Okay, you have the DC jack charge port connector here going underneath the motherboard. Kind of stupid in my opinion. I don't know why they need to tuck it underneath. They can just have it going over the top, just like these wireless antennas, but they decided to make it so you have to take the motherboard out to work on it. Get out of here, ants. All right, then you got a wireless card here. 1 screw holding this in, this plastic bracket. When you remove that screw, you can pop up the wireless card slightly, and then you can slide the plastic bracket off backwards. Antennas, you pull them out by pulling up from the tails. And yeah, what else? We got the RAM here, 2 tabs, pull those away from the RAM, and we got 4 gig PC4 3200 AA. You can use any PC4 3200 AA, so if you want, you could likely put a 16 gig stick. All right, if they have a 16 gig stick, I think they do. Excuse me. If not, you can put an 8 gig stick. All right, then you got the speaker connector here. Same thing with the wings. You kind of grab and just keep wiggling and pulling, and it should pop out. Not held in with screws. It's just held in with these rubber things, so you can just pull the speakers out. But both speakers connect here. The cable goes along and connects right there to the other one. Anyways, that's pretty much all there is for this model. I'm going to put the bottom cover back on. Very simple and straightforward. Just line everything up, snap it all back down, and yeah, we're going to be reinstalling Windows on here, and that's pretty much it. I don't think there's anything else that I need to go over here. Some models will have an optical disk drive connector here. It looks like there's an ODD, it says JODD1, but this one doesn't even have that connector. So yeah, all right, let's pop this back together. Just line it all up, start down here, make sure to, you might have to go at an angle to get these bottom ones in. All right, make sure that goes in, and then go ahead and start working your way up the sides, get the middle, and then let's go ahead and get these screws in. I don't know what these ants are doing all over here. All right, let's go ahead and tie these down. I guess because I'm in the garage, right in front of the garage door, the water flooded their house, and now they're kind of finding dry places over here. Anyways, I'll tie this or screw this all down. All right, there you go. Make sure to click all of that into place. All right, and let's get these last few screws. Other than that, that's all there is to it. Hopefully this video helped you guys out. Again, if it did, make sure to like, subscribe, share my channel with others so that they can learn how to upgrade and repair their devices as well. And if it helped you save a bunch of money, again, please consider contributing a little to the channel. Every little bit helps and allows me to continue making these videos for a living. Don't feel like if you can't contribute much that you shouldn't contribute anything at all, because even 5 cents is better than 0. So if 1 million people gave me 5 cents, that's still a lot of money. So anyways, let's go ahead and get all these screws in, and we're good to go. All right. If you're wondering how to boot to install Windows on here, you can create a Windows USB device from Microsoft directly. They actually give you those utilities. You might have to borrow another person's computer to do that though. But Microsoft does make that utility available for free online. And then if you're booting from a oh, why does this have these weird scuff marks on it? If you're booting from a what do you call? A non-UEFI device, you will have to go into the BIOS and disable secure boot. I believe it's F2 to go to the BIOS, and then you can remove secure boot. But if you're doing Windows on here, then you should have UEFI enabled. Anyways, let me power it on and show you. I'm going to press F2 to go to the BIOS here. Let me see. Okay, it's booting up. I'm pressing F2. So that goes to the setup mode. We'll wait for this to power up. And then you go to security. And then at the bottom, they have secure boot here. And then here you can see secure boot, and you can disable it. But because I'm booting a Windows USB, I don't need to worry about that. I'm going to press F12. And we're going to boot my Windows 10 USB installer. And we're going to install Windows 10. All right, F12. Go to the boot devices. Here we go. And I'm going to boot my SanDisk Cruiser Fit, which is this little USB here. I put 64 and 32-bit, so I'm going to install the 64-bit version. I don't know why I'm putting the 32-bit version, because I have no idea when I'm ever going to install a 32-bit version of Windows. But yeah, anyways, the Windows installation is just like every other Windows 10 installation. Just make sure to delete all the partitions if there are any, if you're starting new. All right, and yeah, I always do custom mode, but you can just do the automatic. I'll just show you like real quick what I click through once it pops up, and we should be good to go. But yeah, this one was kind of weird because it would boot Windows, but it would just be frozen and you can't really do anything. And then that's how I kind of knew the hard drive was dead until I plugged it in to other stuff or tried cloning it and it had problems reading, so then for sure it was bad. Alright, I'm going to go to next. I don't think this is touchscreen. Yeah, enter. Right, install now, enter. Wait for this to load. Alright, give it a little bit. Come on. It's taking a while to start up. Alright, there we go. Spacebar to accept the terms, enter OK. Down to go to custom, enter OK. Unallocated space, so there's nothing on the drive, so I'll just press enter to go next. It will automatically create the partitions and then install. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully this video helped. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Alright, let's drop this. Bye.